Greetings, traveler. What is the right way to game design? This is a question that has been stuck in my mind ever since I discovered what game design is to begin with. Throughout my career working as a game designer, game director, or even playing my own D&D campaigns, there has always been this conversation about what is the correct way of conducting a game, designing a feature, or just developing video games. This question has been asked to me consistently by members of the development team, by players, by other dungeon masters, and so on. And today, what I want to talk about is what I think right means for game design and how I learned from the great storytellers out there how they approach their own choices that they make in their own storytelling and how that influenced my choices in game design. So finding the right thing, but in a way that serves the player the most. My name is Xanthos. I've been working in the games industry for over 13 years now. And as I mentioned, I cannot tell you how many times I've been asked to pinpoint what is the right value for hit points, what is the correct amount for an attack power, how many weapons the game should have, and all these vague notions of how things should be. Or because some other game is doing things a certain way, we have to do the same thing as well. When I first got confronted with these questions, I thought that they were true. So when somebody asked, how many hit points should this monster have, um, I thought that there's a correct answer somewhere, that there was a magical formula that always indicates how many hit points a monster should have, or how much attack power the player should have, or any of these things. Um, Interestingly enough, people who asked these questions, even if they were on the game design team themselves, they had no clue on how to answer the question. When I asked them how they would approach this, they say, "Oh, for this situation, the answer is, 42 or something comical like that." So there was never, in my experience, a clear, sensible explanation about what the right answer is to any of these questions. So that led me on a huge, multiple year long research dive into classic board games or sports or things kids play with and so on to find out how those areas decide what the right values are. We don't know why chess was designed this way. We don't know why hide and seek has the rules it has. So I was trying to find sources that I did have access to, and they made some sort of logical sense to be able to illuminate the way forward. And interestingly, the most influential answer, or the answer that best summarized all the things that I was feeling but I couldn't put into words yet, came from a Stan Lee video that I'm paraphrasing, of course, but he was answering to a fan whether if Hulk and Spider-Man were to fight, who would win? Or who should win, or something like that, or who is the stronger, something like that. And I didn't think such a nice guy as him could get angry, but he got a bit upset when he was talking about the answer. And his answer to this question was, "It doesn't matter." Of course, I'm paraphrasing, but he said, "It doesn't matter. There is no such thing as who should win or who is stronger and so on. Whoever writes the story decides who is stronger in that particular story." And that sounds so simple, but it's so profound and so eye-opening, as it certainly was for me when I discovered it, because that was the only sensible way to approach this question. How many hit points should something have, or how a weapon should behave? There is no should. There is no correct answer. There is no standard framework for this. The only thing that's common here is the ability of the creator to make a choice that best serves a story in order to best serve the person who enjoys the story, or in our case, who enjoys the video game. So how does that translate into the game development world? Well, since now I was free from the concept of right, I was finally capable of starting to think about this in a way that was both concrete and mathematical, and I made sure that it could serve the story and the player, the experience of the game. So the question stopped being what's right, but what I want to make out of this. So essentially, what this means is that, let's say, you have a game and there's there's multiple weapons in the game. Let's say there's swords and axes and bows, for example. So somebody might ask, well, which one is the strongest weapon in this game? Normally, the old me at the beginning of my career would be paralyzed with fear because I wouldn't know which one is the strongest. And after figuring out this question, I know, of course, that there is no should. There is no standard answer for which one of these weapons should be the strongest in the game. There is simply the question of which one do I want to make the strongest in the game, or if I want to make one of them stronger than the others in the first place. So again, there is no standard answer here. There's just a choice of me as the creator of, do I want to tell the story that in this situation, one of these weapons is stronger than the others, or do I want to um, promote the value of equality between these weapons and they're all just as strong? So whichever you choose, basically the weapons are equivalent. So it's just about what you enjoy the most, or that either of these weapons could be stronger for a particular situation. So even if it's one player using all of them, then I want to pass the message that you use the sword in this situation and the axe in that situation, the bow when you're doing this other thing. So I want basically the player to use all of them in different situations, or get good with one of them and avoid the situations where that one weapon is not effective at. So being aware of these choices and being aware of my power as a designer to define this was hugely freeing, because once I decided what the approach that I wanted to take, then the answer to the question how much attack the sword should have or whatever became trivial, right? Let's say I want to make the sword stronger than the others. The other two weapons can have, for example, an attack value of 80, and the sword can have an attack value of 100 or 200 or whatever, something higher. And of course, it's going to be stronger than the others. Now, of course, I know this is a simplistic example and there's other parameters in play here, but the philosophy is the same. If you know which approach you want to take with this, then defining the values and answering these questions becomes trivial. And that was the most eye-opening moment in that part of my design work. Because even though I had discovered this way of looking at it, it seemed that nobody around me shared this view. For everybody else I ever spoke to, the answer was, no, 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 in every other game, it's done so and so, so we have to do the same thing. Or in that person's past experience, they always did it like this. The team always did it like this. So we have to stick to that method because it's the tried and tested method, I suppose. Which is not wrong, right? It's not wrong. It's not that other games that have already succeeded with this formula are wrong to have done so. But the point is that since we are the designers, we get to discover what's best for our players and implement that to delight them. That is our power and that is our responsibility. Anyway, this is a more philosophical topic today. I hope this illuminates your way if you're caught in this struggle of trying to find out what's right and what should and so on. And hopefully it gives you a simple way to navigate this topic and make it fun instead. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope this helps at least one other traveler out there. And as always, have fun.